The forum was going perhaps worse than expected. Organizers described my final duty as a live demonstration. I assumed this meant teaching a few ringers at a local university. Instead, I was led to the cavernous banquet room of a bustling restaurant, which smelled deliciously of garlic. It was crammed with teachers, many of whom had flown thousands of miles to see me, all of whom were poised to set pen to notebook. Shiro explained that China had little formal tradition when it came to creative writing training. I would now show 300 instructors, and by extension, in my own grandiose vision, the entire country, how to teach creative writing. Presently, my pupils appeared, a procession of uniformed seventh graders from a local private school. They filed into seats at the front of the room, looking as miserable as you might expect, which is to say, slightly less miserable than me. One of the unexpected benefits of operating on an hour of sleep in a country far from home is that, at a certain point, you surrender the notion that you will be of use to anyone. I had reached that point. And so I launched into a sermon about the literary dividends of obsession. You'll encounter a version 70 or so pages down the road, ardently seeking eye contact with my charges, who were understandably staring at Shiro, the dashing translator. I then asked them to write about an obsession from early childhood. In America, the protocol was pretty straightforward. Here, it would involve 5 additional steps. Shiro translates my instructions into Mandarin. The students write, then read their pieces in Mandarin. Shiro translates them into English for me. I offer feedback in English, which Shiro translates back into Mandarin. How would all this go? My money was on disaster. The students looked solemn, dutiful, petrified. They were, it seemed to me, trapped in a kind of anxiety fugue, which, years from now, they would attempt to describe to some patient lover. Yes, that was the day I was plucked from my normal class and put on a bus. I believe it was a punishment of some kind. They drove me to a vast cafeteria filled with hundreds of teachers. Some creepy American man began raving. They said he was the teacher, but he dressed like a vagrant. He ordered me to write a personal story which I had to recite while the strange teacher stared at me. I probably don't need to tell you that not one student volunteered to read, nor that a sense of doom descended upon that room. But then the plot took an unexpected turn. A slender girl rose from her seat and, trembling only slightly, read a stunning piece of prose. It was about the bicycle she had coveted as a child, a gleaming red machine with silver handlebars and tassels. She spied it in the main square of her town, resting against a fountain. Her father felt a bike would be a distraction from her studies, and her mother didn't argue with her father. In dreams, the bike shone under the white moon. She imagined riding it constantly. She could feel her legs pumping. When she closed her eyes, it was still there, under the moon, slightly too large for her, incandescent. Once, when no one was around, she rode the red bicycle. Or maybe she made that part up. It felt like flying. She rode it all the way to the next town, then to the moon. She never came back. Shiro whispered his translation. It was urgent and dizzying. The girl's voice rang out like a hymn. When she had finished, there was a sustained silence, as if we were in church. Suddenly, a figure in the back, one of the few male teachers in the room, jumped to his feet and began yelling. Shiro provided a play-by-play of his rant. He didn't understand what sort of class this was, or how such an assignment would be graded, what criteria could be applied to such a text. It was all just romantic nonsense.